back to SperryNdipity Travel podcast. Today we're trading skyscrapers for wide open skies and diving deep into the most fascinating travel shifts of the year, Cowboy Core. From line dancing in Nashville to dude ranches in Montana, we're unpacking why nearly half of the U.S. travelers are ready to ride into a Western adventure. We'll explore the cultural roots, the romantic imagery, and the real-world destination behind the movement. Whether you're craving authenticity, a bit of grit, or just a good pair of boots, this episode will show you how to find your own version of the frontier. Let's get into it.
You ever get that feeling? You know, that urge to just get away from the daily grind, connect with something maybe a bit more real, a bit adventurous?
Oh, definitely. Like swapping the screen time for some big sky time.
Exactly. And it seems like a lot of people are feeling that lately. We're going to dive into this huge surge in popularity for what people are calling the Cowboy Core travel experience.
It really is an interesting cultural moment, isn't it? This whole like cowboy aesthetic, it's been bubbling up everywhere.
Right. In fashion, music.
And now, yeah, it's clearly spilling over into how people actually want to travel, spend their downtime.
Yeah. So we've pulled together some pretty interesting sources, trend reports, articles on fashion, some history, and it really looks like this is more than just a quick trend. There's something deeper going on.
Seems like it.
So our mission today is to really unpack why this Cowboy Core travel thing is taking off right now. Yeah. We want to figure out, what's driving it, which places are suddenly hot spots, and what kind of like authentic Western stuff people are actually looking for.
Okay, let's get into it. So first off, there's this Skyscanner report that's pretty revealing.
Oh yeah. What'd it say?
Well, it found that 44%, that's almost half of the U.S. travelers they talk to, are interested in this Cowboy Core. They also call it frontier tourism.
44%. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of people.
It really is. It shows there's genuine interest there.
And it does feel like it's been building, right? It's not totally out of the blue. You kind of have to talk about the big cultural stuff happening.
Like Beyoncé?
Exactly. Like Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter album. I mean, that was massive. And it's such a clear nod to her Texas roots working with country legends.
Yeah, absolutely. How much do you think something like that actually pushes people to, say, book a trip to Texas or Wyoming?
Well, I think it's pretty significant. Music always shapes culture, shapes what we want, what feels cool. And when someone like Beyoncé embraces that whole country Western vibe, it just puts it in front of millions, maybe billions of people who might not have thought about it before.
It gives it a kind of cultural stamp of approval, maybe. Makes it feel very current.
Yeah, like permission to explore it yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not just music. We saw Forbes talking about this too, how Cowboy Core has always kind of been there in fashion, but right now it's at a, what do they call it? A fever pitch.
Right, this obsession with all things country. They mentioned Beyoncé again, didn't they? Wearing that Stetson hat on the W magazine cover.
Yeah, that cream Stetson.
Yeah.
A perfect example of these huge influencers really driving the look.
And it's interesting how it all weaves together. The visuals, the hats, the boots get popular. Then music reinforces it, fashion picks it up.
And Forbes suggested the appeal goes deeper, right? To the whole idea of the cowboy lifestyle itself.
Yeah, this sense of like freedom, individuality, something timeless about it.
That totally makes sense. There's definitely a romantic idea we have about it, even if the day-to-day reality was, probably pretty tough.
Oh, for sure. Which brings us to that idea of authenticity. Adventure.com mentioned that.
Right. They said authenticity is subjective, which is true, but it seems like wanting these cowboy experiences ties into looking for something genuine, maybe something less passive than just sitting on a beach.
Absolutely. There's definitely a trend towards travel that feels, I don't know, more connected, less packaged.
Have you noticed that generally? People wanting more real experiences?
Yeah, I think so. And the history part is key here, too. The Histosaurus pointed out the roots in Mexican vaquero culture.
That's so important to remember.
And that cowboys came from all sorts of backgrounds, African Americans, Native Americans, Mexicans. It wasn't just the John Wayne image. It's a much richer, more complex story.
Definitely adds another layer to why people might be drawn to it. It's not just the Hollywood version.
Although that romantic image from movies and maybe shows like Yellowstone, that definitely plays a part in the appeal.
Oh, yeah. For sure. But it's good to keep in mind what history and some folks on Reddit were saying, the actual work, incredibly hard, lonely even.
Right, that gap between the fantasy and the reality. Do you think the travelers going for this Cowboy Core now are aware of that grit? Or is it mostly about the romance?
Probably a mix. Some might really want a taste of actual ranch work. Others maybe just want the cool boots and the feeling of open space.
Yeah, a whole spectrum of interest.
So where are people actually going to get their cowboy fix? Skyscanner had some specifics.
They did. They talked about cities hosting stampedes, those big multi-day rodeo festivals.
Okay. Like where?
Places like Cody, Wyoming, Calgary up in Canada, and the area around Yellowstone National Park. Those saw the biggest jumps in interest.
Makes sense. Those are iconic Western spots.
Totally. And Skyscanner also listed the activities people on these frontier trips are looking for.
Look at what kind of stuff.
Visiting ranches, trying out line dancing, sleeping out under the stars.
Yeah.
And obviously, horseback riding.
Yeah, the hands-on stuff. That seems key.
Exactly. People want to do something.
And it's not just the classic Wild West places either, is it? Booking.com mentioned some others.
Right. They saw more flights going into Nashville and Austin, which you'd expect with the country music connection.
Sure.
But also Tamworth in Australia and Donegal County in Ireland.
Really? Ireland? What's the connection there?
Well, apparently both Tamworth and Donegal have really strong, long histories with country and folk music. Tamworth even has that giant, big golden guitar statue.
Huh. So the trend isn't just about the American West. It's tied to the music culture, too, globally even.
Seems like it broadens the whole idea, connects through that country sound.
Okay, so let's zoom in on some of those classic U.S. spots. Fort Worth Stockyards in Texas comes up a lot.
Oh, yeah. Fort Worth is amazing. The sources describe it as this, like, last stop for cowboys before hitting the Chisholm Trail. Real history there.
And they still do the cattle drive. Twice a day.
Yeah, it's incredible. Plus, places like Billy Bob's Texas for live music. It feels really alive, not just like a museum.
Cool. Then there's San Antonio, also in Texas. One source called it the ultimate cowboy destination.
Big claim. But they do have that huge San Antonio stock show and rodeo. It's coming up next February. It looks massive.
Rodeos, livestock, concerts, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And apparently San Antonio also has regular rodeos, places like the Tejas Rodeo Company, plus dude ranches nearby.
Ah, the dude ranches. That seems like a big part of this.
Yeah.
Especially around Bandera, the cowboy capital of the world.
That's what they call it. Yeah, dude ranches are central to this whole experience. They offer that chance to just, jump right in.
Horseback riding, maybe cattle drives, staying in cabins.
All of that. The Every Mom article mentioned they're getting really popular for families, too, getting kids outdoors, off the screens.
Makes sense. And they're popping up everywhere, aren't they? The sources listed ranches in Arizona, California, Montana, Colorado.
And New York, Ohio, even British Columbia. It's definitely not just a Western states thing anymore.
And some sound pretty fancy, like the ranch at Rock Creek, Lone Mountain Ranch, both in Montana.
Oh, yeah. There are definitely luxury options. You get the scenery, the activities, but with, like, gourmet food and high-end lodges. Best of both worlds for some travelers.
Your chaps and your champagne, right?
Exactly. Lone Mountain Ranch has been around since 1915. Apparently, it really focuses on that authentic Montana vibe, even the food.
So it's maybe curated,
yeah,
but still tapping into that desire for something genuine.
I think so. And then there's Jackson Hole, Wyoming, another classic. They have that Old West Days Festival in May.
Right, that sounds like a full-on celebration. Parades, rodeos, stagecoaches.
Yeah, a really concentrated dose of that Western heritage. Great way for visitors to just soak it all in.
So wrapping our heads around this whole Cowboy Core travel thing,
yeah,
it really feels like a mix.
Definitely. You've got the big cultural moments, Beyoncé, fashion.
Then this deeper search for authenticity, maybe a little adventure.
And just the enduring image of the cowboy, that romantic appeal.
And people can engage with it in so many ways, visiting towns, going to festivals, or doing the full dude ranch immersion.
And it's interesting, too, how the idea of a cowboy itself is changing. That Pico's Field Notes piece touched on it.
How so?
Well, blending tradition with modern tech on ranches today. But the core values seem to stick to the land, the animals, that independent spirit.
Right. And like some people online were saying, maybe embracing the Cowboy Core isn't always about literally working cattle.
Exactly. It might be more about the attitude, the aesthetic, the music, connecting with that feeling.
That sense of freedom, maybe. A different pace.
Yeah. It taps into something fundamental, I think, wanting experiences that feel real, that take us outside our normal routine.
So listening to all this, maybe you should think about what part of this Cowboy Core idea actually clicks with you. Is it the look, the wide open spaces, the history.
Or maybe it's just the music. It could be anything.
Could be. Maybe it's time to look into some of these places. See if you've got a bit of that frontier spirit yourself.
Yeah.
The Wild West. Maybe it's not as far away as you think.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. And this is all we have for today through Cowboy Core and Open Roads of Frontier Travel. If today's episode sparked your spirit of adventure, don't forget to check out the show notes. We've rounded up some gear to help you hit the trails in style. Until next time, keep chasing the unexpected, and remember, life is in session. Vlog it. I'll see you next time.